Motorsport Heroes takes you behind the scenes of the world's premier race categories into the real-life drama and adrenaline. Hi, I'm Jim McKinnon. Join Jim Murphy, Donna Matthews and I for Motorsport Heroes. In this episode, we explore the world of V8 Supercars and Australia's most famous race, Bathurst.
There's no one more important to a motorsports team than its owner, and I'm here with the heart and soul of Garry Rogers Motorsport, and that is Garry Rogers.
I'd like to say it's perhaps the dollars and cents more than the heart and soul that gets the result. I mean, you can see the setup here. We've got 2 cars. We've got another 2 of these at home. We've got a great big truck out there and a whole lot of very, very good sponsors that make all this happen.
How many guys do you have on the team this year?
We still run pretty lean. We've only got 8 full-time people, plus we've got another 4 casuals that help us in the long-distance races, and that's a pretty tight-knit lot to run 2 of these cars, but we've been able to do it and do it pretty successfully.
What is the cost of running a team?
To run 2 of these competitively, you're talking between $2.5 and $3 million for a year.
What kind of support do you get from General Motors?
All our technology and development we do in-house, but in terms of assistance, without General Motors, we wouldn't be going racing, I can tell you.
Well, he's been involved in this sport for an awful long time. First behind the wheel, now behind the scenes. That's Garry Rogers.
Later that day, Jim Murphy caught up with John Panozzo, lead mechanic for the Garry Rogers team.
A lot of things going on in here. Let's take a look inside. First of all, I notice the seat doesn't look anything like what we've got in a normal street car. Why is this seat different?
The seat it's a special touring car seat. It weighs approximately 5 kilo.
I look inside, of course, all the heavy stuff, all the interior work, all the frills are gone to keep the weight down. But then we've got this dashboard. Looks very high-tech, lots of digits up here, lots of lights. What is that doing for the driver?
It's a Motec dash. It's linked directly to the engine management system. Yeah, that gives the driver every piece of information he needs.
Now, if we walk around to the front side here, we've got the wheels off and there's a lot of things going on. First of all, the tires. These tires don't look anything like we'd find on a street car. Tell me about them.
Yeah, no, they're a purpose-made racing slick made by Bridgestone, designed for this category and these cars.
If I go out on the street, I might run my tires for maybe 100,000 kilometers. How long are these tires going to last?
They last quite a while. They'll do approximately probably 200 kilometers.
Over here, some pretty hefty-looking brakes, a lot bigger than we'll see on a street car.
Yeah, definitely. These brakes are pretty awesome.
Tell me about these engines.
It's just the Chev 5-litre. We build our own engines. With Motec fuel injection, we get about 600 horsepower.
Now, if I wanted to go out and buy one of these, I couldn't buy it off the street, but how much money is one of these cars worth?
Yeah, new to build, that they usually cost between $260,000 and $300,000.
And that's cheap at half the price. John, thank you for bringing us in here. We appreciate it. And as we said, underneath the skin here, it's all business. That's the number 34 car of Jason Bargwanna and Garth Tander.
Of course, in motor racing, when it comes down to the crunch, it's all up to the drivers, the modern-day gladiators who strap themselves into these 600 horsepower monsters. Motorsport Heroes Donna Matthews caught up with the lead drivers for Garry Rogers Motorsport. Jason Bargwanna is 29 years old and a champion in karts, open-wheelers and now V8 Supercar. 24-year-old Garth Tander was a Formula 4 champion and is a current V8 Supercar star.
How do your families feel about you actually driving, cars that go pretty fast?
Mum doesn't watch a lot of the races. She likes it when I ring her up on Sunday night and tell her I'm still alive.
What about you, Jason?
I had a crash. I must have been 16 in a Formula V. The thing turned upside down in the tyres and all sorts of things. The ambulance guy had to actually go see Mum because she's the one that collapsed and I was okay.
And who in the family was actually involved in motorsport?
Dad raced. He raced since I was, born, actually. The first place I went to was the racetrack. But
and my father was involved in motorsport as well, and he wanted something to do with his family on the weekend, something to spend a bit of time with his boys, and he thought go-karting would be the way to go. I started when I was 8, and I'm still going now. It was sort of a family affair, and the parents sort of ran the go-kart club.
You're popular, aren't you?
It's all happening tonight.
So what do you do on your weekends off, Garth?
I mean, most things that you do in your time off involve some sort of speed, water skiing, jet skiing, or completely the other end of the spectrum, you go play a game of golf or something like that.
And what do you get up to, Jason, when you've got time off?
Same as him, really. We sort of all spend a bit of time together on the weekends, but just going out to dinner with Deb, something like that. So yeah.
Does she enjoy coming to watch you race? Or?
Yeah, Deb really likes it. I mean, she loves the sport. It's a bit different these days. Will I actually answer this? I'll speak.
Why not? Go on.
This is Deb. I'll get this one. So yeah, it's all good. Hi, babe. How you going?
He's a popular guy.
No, we're in the middle of doing an interview, so I'll probably talk to you later.
We're trying to have dinner.
Over the years, V8 Supercar has been fueled by the passion of General Motors Australian arm Holden versus Ford. Holden and Ford's battle for family car popularity was transferred to the racetrack, in cars driven straight off the showroom floor. But that didn't stop the drivers going to the absolute limit and beyond, with inevitable results. During the 1970s, the cars evolved from street machines to full race cars, but the carnage continued. Through the 80s and early 90s, while the local V8s continued to dominate, imports like Jaguar, BMW, Ford Sierra and Nissan Skyline joined the battle. And they were tough to beat. By the mid-90s, the face of V8 Supercar had changed again. The field's now purely Ford and Holden race cars. Closer parity of aerodynamics, tyres and engine performance, larger race teams and greater costs, along with the levels of marketing, TV coverage and legions of fans familiar to US motorsports. Youthful stars like Garth, Tander and Bargwanna have emerged as the new breed of V8 Supercar drivers. Today, these young drivers take to the track in Holdens and Fords considered light years ahead from those of yesteryear. So it begs the question, just how would a modern driver fare in an early V8 Supercar? Garth's just had a drive of the GTS Monaro. Any obvious differences that jump out, Garth?
Well, yeah, the first difference would have to be the actual seating arrangement. The guys that drove the cars back in '68 would have been sliding around all over the place in the seats. So, see what the brakes are like. Well, there are some there. Definitely get the impression this is a big car. The boys that race these ones definitely had their money.
Just weeks before the biggest race of the season, disaster. Garry Rogers tells the story.
We were at the Gold Coast races last weekend and the first lap of qualifying, Garth went out. Unfortunately, he locked the wheel and as you can see, the damage has been sustained is pretty heavy. He bounced off one concrete wall. You can see where the actual forces pushed the whole front of the car across, bent the roll cage and buckled the floor further in.
So, how do you fix it?
You spend a lot of money. If the car is not completely in alignment, you won't be able to get the necessary suspension adjustments out of the car for the car to, basically be able to go quickly. In actual hours, it won't be that bad. There's probably a couple of hundred hours at the most.
It was time to put the rebuilt car to the test. With Garth Tander running second in the championship, victory depended on Bathurst, the final and toughest race of the year. With just a week to go, the team hauled out of home base Melbourne for final testing at Winton Raceway, 300 kilometres northeast. Just prior to the action, I caught up with Bargwanna for his outlook on the day.
Well, look, it's just a bit of a shakedown before Bathurst. Obviously, we want to go to Bathurst as prepared as we possibly can, so making sure that the brakes are right, the gearbox right, the diff's right, nothing leaks, nothing falls off, all that sort of thing. So it's what it takes to win. You've got to be well prepared.
It had been a dry spring in this part of the world. The sun was out, the track warm and fast. Conditions they hope to experience again at Bathurst.
GT just button off the rest of the flat and we'll come in and just check over it.
That's fine. I mean, speed's not really important at the moment. The speed we've got, which we've developed all year, is what we take to Bathurst.
It was time for the long journey to Bathurst, 1,000 kilometres north of Melbourne and 200 kilometres west of Sydney, the holy grail of V8 supercar racing. For 40 years, the heroes of Australian motorsport have been coming to this 1,000 kilometre race around Mount Panorama, Bathurst. The track is 6.2 kilometres in length. Starting at Pitt Straight, they climb the equivalent of a 48-storey building, then do it all over again for 161 challenging laps in a 6-hour endurance battle.
For an American used to the likes of Daytona and Indianapolis, this is an altogether different world. We're here at Australia's most famous motor race, the Bathurst 1000. For 161 grueling laps, these drivers fight their way up one side of Mount Panorama and down the other for the right to be called King of the Mountain.
Having done all their preparations in the dry, the team arrived in Bathurst to find it had been raining for 7 days straight. Even driving around the infield was treacherous. Donna Matthews got the lowdown on Garry Rogers' wet weather strategy.
Oh, look, anything can happen in conditions like this. I mean, you'd like to think that the drivers would realise what we've come for, and that is to win the race on Sunday, and you won't do that in the wet on Thursday. We'll do a minimum amount of laps, probably give each driver 5 or 6 laps and then call it quits, because it's only Thursday and Sunday is what we came for.
The practice sessions were marred by changing conditions and regular stoppages. Both pit crew and drivers were finding their way. With Bathurst being an endurance race in the tradition of Le Mans, Bargwanna and Tander would share a race car this weekend, with several driver changes planned for the race. Donna spoke to both drivers about what it was like out on the track.
Across the top of the mountain, it's very, very cloudy, and you can't actually see that far down the road. So, you know, you just got to sort of take it easy and sort of take everything in what you can and try and survive.
If the session dries up a bit, we'll probably push on a bit and have a bit more of a go, but you don't really achieve a lot in these conditions. You know, at the end of the day, there's only one lap we want to lead, and that's the last one.
So, any superstitious things for preparation?
No, I used to have a lucky pair of undies, but I threw them in the bin. I had as much bad luck with them on as I had good luck, so I decided they're useless.
So better that they're out of there.
No, that's exactly right. Get in the car, put the seatbelt on, and away you go. That's about it.
In the qualifying session, a dry line finally started to appear and the lap times tumbled. Tander and Bargwanna had both posted top times in the improved conditions. With the session ticking down, Jason Bargwanna was charging and put in a great lap to qualify 6th fastest. For Garry Rogers, it was decision time. Who was going to take the car out for the crucial top 10 shootout? Like everything else this weekend, it was going to be a tough call. The top 10 shootout is a battle between the top 10 cars for pole position, with the first 10 grid spots reshuffled based on the shootout times. The decision is made. With Jason starting the race, Garth is going to take the car out for final qualifying. The rain is back and the battle begins. Over the top of the mountain, Garth is looking fast, but then...
You're going to run off on Tander, can you believe it? Oh!
Across the top of the mountain, I didn't really go as fast as I would have liked, and I was just trying to make up a bit more time down into the chase. And when I got there, there was a river there that wasn't there this morning, and unfortunately the front wheel was locked up. And that was it. I couldn't slow the car down enough and just went off the edge of the circuit. So
that's a third different excuse I've heard today. That's not bad.
I like the sound of that one though. That sounds a lot better.
Sunday, the day of the great race, and the conditions haven't let up at all. In the team pit garage, there was just time for a fill-up of fuel, a final polish, and a check-over of brakes and tyres. They were about to send their drivers out into the most grueling endurance race in Australia. The boss, meantime, was looking to a higher authority.
Johnson has made the better of the start as they've worked towards the help corner for the first time. Mark Skate immediately on the charge, settles in the third position, but it's Junior Johnson who leads the field away.
Yeah, look, it came pretty easy. I got a really good start, and it just sort of all fell into place on the first lap, and I was able to pick a couple of cars off and get on with it. It was really hard to see. There was a lot of rivers and stuff running across the track. On the first lap, there was cars going everywhere, but yeah, we managed to sort of get through it okay. The car's great. In the wet conditions, we're certainly matching anyone's times, and yeah, it's a long day to go though.
Really slipping across the top.
1 hour in and the clouds are still ominous. Jason pulls in for the first pit stop. Garth takes over at the wheel. They take a strategic gamble and send him out onto a slippery track on slick tyres. Halfway through the race, with the team lying 6th, I caught up with Garth.
And how's the car actually performing out there? Is it sort of a mix of wet and dry still, or is it pretty dry now?
Well, the track right now is very dry, but at the start of that session it was sort of wet on half the circuit and dry on the other, so it was very difficult to sort of know what grip level there was in the wet part, because you didn't know if it rained more there or it was drying out. So,
and with those wet patches, how does that affect how you attack it? Are you having understeer problems with the car in that case? Lack of front grip? Or?
Yeah, we are. We're just getting a small understeer. You just have to slow down a lot more to get the front of the car to bite in.
Clawed their way to 3rd, they make their best pit stop so far. Garth jumps back in the car for what he hopes will be a short stint. By now, the pit crew are working like a well-oiled machine. Meanwhile, veteran Ford driver and past Bathurst winner Tony Longhurst is charging along in the lead. Further back in the field, Mount Panorama claims another victim. The car is nearly out of fuel. One last pit stop. Garth is still running 3rd and the race hangs in the balance. Conditions are still changeable and the team need a lightning stop. They splash in just enough fuel to get them across the line. There's no time for a driver change. Garth Tander, having just put in a tough stint, is being asked to step up to the plate and stay in the car. It's down to the business end of the race. The chase was on. Despite having to battle dehydration and exhaustion over a mammoth 2-hour double stint at the wheel, Tander is cranking up the pressure on the race-leading Tony Longhurst Ford and closing the gap.
Tony Longhurst. Oh, he's had contact with John Faulkner at the top of the mountain.
The Longhurst Ford badly damaged and out of the race. Garth Tander is in the lead. With 6 laps to go, all he has to do is bring it home. But it's not over yet. The 2nd place Ford of Kiwi Paul Radisich, the driver they call the Rat, is closing fast.
Radisich. Yeah.
I might look like I'm sitting funny, but I can't sit down. My backside has been burnt red raw, so those last 15 laps were just torturous, and I could see Paul coming and I was just head down, tail up.
Can Garth and the team hold on? The answer is yes. An epic victory for Tander, Bargwanna and the Garry Rogers team.
If you want to win this race, you have to do some pretty special things, and this is obviously a dream come true. And the last 2 years I've been here, this hasn't been the kindest place to me. So to come up here with Bugs and pull it off, for obviously for ourselves and for the boys, and also for Garry, it's a huge buzz. It probably hasn't sunk in yet.
Scene behind me, pure unbridled enthusiasm. The Holden faithful are celebrating a victory here on Mount Panorama. The sound is incredible. It was a long afternoon, 7.5 hours of racing, and it all came down on the shoulders of Garth Tander, and I can tell you what, it was a very, very popular victory.
I've got fantastic sponsors, I've got great drivers, and God wanted us to win, so we won.
We're back here at Bathurst with Garry Rogers at the scene of the team's amazing victory at last year's Bathurst race. Gary, just how did it feel to take out a victory at Mount Panorama?
Oh, Jim, it's very hard to explain those sorts of things. I mean, probably apart from the birth of my kids, it's the best thing that's ever happened.
And do you feel that it's changed your life in any way? Is it an event of that momentous?
Oh, I'm so wealthy now. People have been pouring money all over me, and I've got all these friends I didn't know existed. No, seriously, look, nothing's changed as far as I'm concerned. It was one of those things I'd wanted to do since the middle 70s, and I'd like to do it again, but my life hasn't changed.
And after so many years of trying, as both a driver and a team owner, what's it like to come back now, having conquered the mountain at last?
I think you're probably a little bit more relaxed, but I don't say that in a way that we've come here thinking we're pretty good and we can do it again. I don't think the pressure's quite as great once you've been able to achieve it.
Any special preparations for such a gruelling event?
I think the only thing we've probably focused a little bit more on this year is physical fitness of the drivers. I mean, it's been proven now that if you can get the guys to do the double stints there and keep the car speed up, you've definitely got a better chance. You know, once the driver's physical fitness drops off a little bit, then his mental fitness goes with it, and that's when the problems start.
How much are you locking them away in the gym?
Well, don't get me started on gyms and personal trainers. I think if you're serious about your own fitness, you make the effort to do it yourself. But these guys have been training hard. They do put in a lot of effort because I think they too thought, you know, oh, this is pretty easy and I'm pretty fit. The fact is, it isn't easy and they weren't as fit as they could be.
The competitive level has really stepped up again this year. Your reflections on the overall season?
This hasn't been a good season for us. And to be quite frank, I'm disappointed, not so much in our performances, but disappointed that I'm not sure why it's gone that way. We've done nothing different to what we've been doing, and yet we come here and we're quick.
And how has it been with the team motivation after such a tough season, battling away but having bad luck, some mechanical gremlins, some trouble with officials, let's say, some few on-track incidents?
To say that there hasn't been some frustrations would be a lie. There has been. But I don't care what anyone says. You know, if you're in a footy team or a hockey team or a bloody ant racing team, if your ant's not winning, the rest of the ants will want to know why. Well, these ants want to know why, and we're all anting together to try and get it fixed.
Your team has a slightly different makeup this year, featuring Leanne Ferrier. How do you feel about having a couple racing for your team?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I couldn't care less about the couple. I'm in the business of getting results for sponsors that pay the money. Leanne Ferrier proved to me when she raced at Formula Ford for us that she was a very competitive driver, and so I don't have a problem with that. On the other side to Garth, I mean, he's proven that he can drive and do a great job for the team, but as far as the relationship goes, those two people come here to drive a car, and so long as their relationship doesn't affect it, I have no problem. If it does affect it, then I have a huge problem.
And so your general outlook for the race, any sort of special strategy or tactics that you're taking in this year?
Jump to the front and keep improving.
Sounds good. And looking into the rest of the season and next year?
We've got the people, we've got the equipment, and certainly we've got the drivers. I think that we've got to, you know, put the bad points of this year behind us and move on into next year, and I think we can do well.
And come Sunday, praying for rain or hoping it stays sunny?
That's a difficult one to answer. I mean, obviously, with the result we got in the rain last year, you'd like to think that that helps you, but I think we can go as quick in the dry. So I think I'd like to see the sunshine.
Best of luck come Sunday.
Thanks very much, Jim.
How do you think the boys are going to go on Sunday?
Well, hopefully they'll go all right. Fantastic.
And who's your favourite out of Garth or Jason?
The little man himself, little Bargsy.
And what did you think of their performance last year? Fairly impressive?
Oh, well.
One of the best I've seen for a long time. Yeah.
I've been supporting Bargs for years, and I had tears coming out of my eyes. I was that stoked. Go Valvoline.
The Garry Rogers team are back to defend their Bathurst title and salvage some pride from a tough season. Garth and Jason have qualified their number 34 Commodore into the top 15 shootout, and it's up to Garth to take on the mountain in the runoff for final grid positions. Despite the race running for 161 laps, the one-lap shootout is taken very seriously. The Garry Rogers team are the 6th car out. Garth's prowess in the shootout format stirs an air of anticipation in the Garry Rogers pit. Can he give them the dream start to their Bathurst defence? Garth is pushing hard, desperate to put the team as high on the grid as possible.
Yeah, the car's really good. It's probably not the best qualifying car, but it's going to be a great race car. It's really easy to drive and really happy with it. Yeah, that's the fastest lap we've done all weekend, so it's pretty good to do it in the shootout. But, I mean, others will go faster than us, but worst case scenario, we'll start 9th. So, that's okay. We started 10th last year and won, so that's no problems.
Yeah, I went in there real hard. I was like, fuck.
It's a nervous wait as 9 other cars put it on the line for the prestigious Bathurst pole position. Garth watches anxiously as Ellery, Johnson, Ingle, Bow, Bright, Scaife, Seaton and Ambrose clock faster times, leaving the team to live up to Garth's worst-case scenario prediction and start from grid 9. With Ambrose taking the trophy for pole, Garth was remaining focused on race day.
And having Leanne in the same team this year, how's that? Obviously a great thrill, but also perhaps some extra pressure?
No, not at all. I mean, Leanne's got her own job to do, and her job's a bit different to ours. Like Jason and I are here to win the race. Leanne and Paul are here just to learn and to do as many laps as they can. If they finish, hopefully hope for a top 10 finish. So really, we've got different jobs to do, and when we're at the track, we're just focused on doing that.
Not quite the start they were looking for, but the team are confident in their race package, despite some concerns over engine power. Jason Bargwanna was feeling relaxed and focused.
Jace, how did it feel to actually win Bathurst?
Well, Jim, it's probably something you've heard a million times before, like a dream come true. I mean, to actually win this event, I mean, this is what it's all about. As a kid, you grow up dreaming about racing here, let alone winning it.
And so your perspective coming back this year, has it changed your approach in any way to the race, or the way you feel about it?
A little bit. I mean, you're obviously aware that you can do it. It's the sort of thing that there's dozens of guys down pit lane here that have never won and they want to win. We can at least say we have won it.
Been a fairly tough season since. Obviously haven't stood on the podium yet this year. Anything you can pinpoint as a cause of that?
Yes, I mean, look, there's a number of reasons, but they're all little things. At the beginning of the year, we had some staff changes and bits and pieces. Not that really cost us too much, but it just upset the rhythm of the team a little bit. Just trying to make the cars a little bit faster, and we've probably stood still more than gone backwards, and everyone else has leapfrogged us. So, yeah, we'll be right.
What's your training sort of involved these days?
Well, I've got a personal trainer, and we run through a program each week. You know, it ranges from a number of things to cardiovascular work to strength training, swimming, all sorts of things. So it's certainly stepping up to, it steps up a little bit in preparation for Bathurst, which is really important. You're in the car for a long time and you've got to be sharp the whole time, so it needs to be a very plays a big part.
And is that something that you can actually feel in the car, the difference between being perfectly fit for this race and perhaps not being quite there?
I've had races here before where I haven't done much work, and it makes a big difference. Your concentration is the first thing that deteriorates, and you don't even realise it. If you get to the point where you're feeling tired, you're well and truly past it.
And so your general outlook for the weekend, coming from 9th spot now after the shootout?
Get to the front and see how it goes. Well, last year we started 10th and won, so hopefully we can pull it off from that row of the grid again.
There wasn't too much time to reminisce though, with the traditional Bathurst Street Parade for the shootout competitors putting the race stars on display. The township lined the footpath to pay homage to race favourites like Ambrose, Ingle, Perkins and last year's champs Tander and Bargwanna. Back at the track, it was time for the afternoon practice session. Despite having no impact on race starting positions, it was nevertheless crucial for fine-tuning, systems checks and driver change practice. An air of purposeful determination filled the Garry Rogers team facilities, a feeling that they'd been here before and had triumphed. One team member who hadn't quite been in this situation before was Leanne Ferrier, in her first V8 Supercar outing at Bathurst, forming half of the youngest combination on the grid with Paul Dumbrell.
We're here with Leanne Ferrier on the Saturday afternoon of Bathurst 2001. Leanne, it must be a great thrill to be here in a V8 Supercar.
Yes, definitely. I mean, this is the one thing that you strive for ever since you start racing, and for me that was since I was about 13, so to finally be here racing in the V8 is just a great opportunity.
What do your friends and family actually feel about you jumping in a race car and screaming around with all these guys?
The new friends that I make, they all like, you do what? When I tell them, and you know, but they think it's great.
And we've got Paul with us now. And how do you find actually coming from being rivals in the Konica series to now being teammates?
Hasn't been too bad. I mean, Paul and I have known each other for a few years now.
So very good at keeping everything strictly business when it gets out to the racing time.
Yeah, well, I think so, unless Paul has something different.
No, I sort of agree with Leanne. I probably hit her maybe 10 or 20 too many
30
times.
or 40 years.
This year in the Conacher Series.
Quite an interesting situation with yourself and Garth being in the same team. How do you sort of approach that, and do you feel that adds any pressure to your weekend here?
No, I don't think it adds any pressure at all. I think Garth is actually quite helpful. But, you know, when we're at the track, it's purely to do our jobs, and that's it. I mean, after racing's finished, you know, we're boyfriend and girlfriend again. But, you know, while we're here, it's just do the job, get on with it.
Race day, and as the clouds roll in, we get Garth and Jason's outlook.
If it's wet, it's not going to be a big deal because obviously we won in the wet last year, so we'll just have to see what happens.
And word around the paddock, there's a few people starting to tip you as quiet favourites with preparation fairly similar to last year. How do you feel about that, Jason?
Well, before we got here, we knew we were favourites, so I mean we're here to win the race. We really don't care what everyone else thinks.
And any sort of strategy for this morning in the warm-up session?
No, we'll probably be very minimal laps and just make sure everything's still where it should be from overnight, and that's basically it. So we're ready to start, we're ready to go, everyone's fired up, so just can't wait to get the thing underway.
Excellent.
But before start time, the drivers had to survive a wet and slippery warm-up session.
Only did the one lap in the wet, but it was really good, and I seen past about 10 cars across the top of the mountain, so yeah, I'm really confident either way if it's wet or dry.
The main challenges you see for the race this afternoon?
That'd be the Russell Ingall, Larry Perkins Castrol car, Mark Skates in the HRT Commodore, and also probably the Steve Johnson, Paul Radisich car in the Shell Falcon. They're probably the three gun teams with, you know, the gun combinations that you're going to have to keep an eye on. But there's probably 10, 15 combinations that are capable of winning the race.
Last year it seemed like you had a bit of an advantage in being able to run quite quickly while still on slicks on a semi-wet track. Do you feel that's going to help you this weekend?
Yeah, I think so. Just the fact that the car was good on wets and also on slicks proves that the car's pretty good in all conditions. So you only go to wets as a last resort, so we just can't wait to get out there.
As the start to the famous race draws near, Bathurst puts on a show. Amongst the excitement, the team atmosphere is intense. Bathurst comes but once a year. Garth makes a good start and holds his spot in the top 10 first time round as Seaton leads the field at a lightning pace. Favourite Scaife wastes no time in getting to the front. The first laps are a battle to stay in the queue. Garth makes a charge forward, trying desperately to cling to the lead group. While car 35 with Paul Dumbrell aboard tries for an early pit stop strategy. As the leaders close in, Paul battles on in the number 35 car, going a lap down as the top 10 surge past. For Jason, the wait for his chance to get out there seems like an eternity. Tander is maintaining touch with the front group as he hands over to Jason at the first pit stop.
Start, then I was on the button and nothing was happening. Speed limit, reset fuel.
With the mess cleaned up and the safety car out of the way, Scaife's partner Longhurst is locked in a battle for the lead with Kmart's Todd Kelly, with the Johnson Radisich car close behind. Paul Dumbrell is having a battle of his own.
The Kmart car 51 sort of got on the brakes midway through the chase, and I wasn't expecting it. I cleaned him up when he was spinning around. The front left wheel or steering or is something bent or broken. I tried to drive it back to the pits and I got halfway in the pit lane and then had to stop.
Unfortunately, not the way you'd like to end your weekend, Leanne.
No, I didn't even get a run today, and that's a bit disappointing, especially after all the lead up.
And what about the other team, the other boys, Garth and Jason? They seem to be going quite well at this stage.
They're up in the top 10, and that's good. I mean, it's a long way to go still, so I think they're looking good.
Needs to look at during the race. Oh, that's the win.
As Garth fights to keep the leaders in sight, the infamous Bathurst weather strikes again.
It's hailing in the pits.
The team dives back into the pits for wet tyres.
In this lap, GT, in this lap. Okay, I'm under the bridge, on the pit lane now.
But the leaders stay out. Scaife taking over front running as the sunshine returns, forcing Tander to come straight back in for slicks. Garth is pushing to make up ground.
And Tander will be hoping for a pacing.
But a storm on top of the mountain makes it a treacherous place to be.
GT, it's going to clear. Just hang with this. Just drive cautiously. You got a copy? I copy that. It is really wet up here. I'm doing 20, 30 kilometres an hour and something. You understand it's very difficult, GT. The safety car is out. Just hang with it. You're behind me, so I hope no one hits me. Fun, and I hit the wall at the forest elbow. I'm going to have to come in and check it. It's a fairly big hit, but it went into the tyres. It's having a bit of rub on the rear tyre. The mirror's hanging off it, so do what you can.
Jason jumps back in.
But GT said, be real careful coming down the hill. You can't even idle, it's that slippery. Lights are out, Marks. Lights are out.
Can the team come back from disaster for a repeat victory?
We're in second position and we've got everything sorted to push on hard.
As the team gamble to stretch their fuel load, Jason slips slowly backward.
Conserve as much fuel as you can, even if that means short shifting or doing whatever you have to do to conserve fuel. So try and get us past 125, then we won't have to stop again. Guys, I'm trying as hard as I can at the moment. They just pass me in a straight line all the time. The reserve has got no fuel, so I'm going up the hill. I'm on reserve. ready. In this lap, please, Bart. In this lap. Not ever going to make it on. Yeah, right. It's going again. In pit lane. In pit lane. Splash for fuel. It'll be a splash and go. Go as hard as you can. Adios. Let's go. See what happens. Win the bastard again.
Gary, the late stages of the race looking pretty good at this stage, quietly confident?
Well, it was looking better a few laps back, but we're short a couple of laps and we stopped for fuel, which, you know, if we hadn't and we run out, you'd regret forever. But by the same token, it's probably going to make it very difficult for us now. We've lost a few spots and the cars that are in front of us are capable of going fairly quickly. We'll see how good Garth is, I suppose.
20 seconds behind the leaders, Garth is desperate to move out of 7th and give chase.
We thought it may have rained again. It sort of started to and stopped, and I mean, if it could bucket down rain, that would be just wonderful. Anything to create a safety car now would be a bonus. But look, you know, if you can just pick up a couple of the early ones and move up there, then I think the car speed at this stage will be all right. With a little bit of luck, you never know.
And you got on the radio to Garth just before. What did you let him know?
Oh, I told him that he should drive the car like he'd just stolen it from the pub car park. We've got nothing to lose.
So if he puts that to practice, he should be looking good at the end of the race.
You'd like to think so.
Up front, Jones comes from nowhere to pursue Scaife, closing to within a second. But Scaife responds, gapping Jones and cruising to his first V8 Bathurst victory. The Garry Rogers team applaud a hard-earned 6th place. As Scaife and HRT celebrate, the Valvoline Cummins Repco team lament a season they'd rather forget. For Garry Rogers, it's a long wait till next year. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time on Motorsport Heroes.